Discover the miraculous journey of Deuteronomy, God's divine plan revealed for transforming faith. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, as dawn broke over the horizon and cast golden rays across the land of Moab, the Israelite camp stirred with anticipation. Under the looming shadow of Mount Nebo, the people gathered, hearts aflame with hope and trepidation, awaiting the final words of their steadfast leader, Moses. This congregation, forged in trials born from slavery in Egypt to harsh wanderings in the wilderness, stood on the precipice of the promised land, their destiny writ large before them. The morning sun climbed higher, illuminating the weather-worn faces of the elders who recalled bitter memories, the cries of their bondage in Egypt, the blood of the Lamb that marked their doors in faith, and the miraculous parting of the Red Sea that allowed them to escape wrath and pursue freedom. It was by the mighty hand of the Lord that they had been led far from the chains of oppression, and now, the promised land of milk and honey beckoned as sweetly as the morning light. Moses rose, voice steady yet urgent, a prophetic echo resonating through each heart as he reminded them of their sacred covenant with Yahweh. Hear, O Israel! The Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. His words drew the people closer, weaving a sacred bond between their yearning hearts as hope intertwined with fear. Before them lay the fierce Canaanites, giants in the land, yet Moses stood firmly in the conviction that their God went before them. If you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, you will be blessed in the city and blessed in the field, he declared, intensity igniting around the camp. But as his voice heightened, he spoke of the curses that lay in wait for those who would turn away. As he beckoned the people to choose life, Moses caught the anxious gaze of the youth, those who had not known enslavement yet felt the weight of expectation upon their shoulders. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Moses spoke of personal transformation, setting forth the choice before them, an invitation of the heart to trust the unseen. As he proclaimed, "Today I have set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, that you and your offspring may live, loving the Lord your God, obeying his voice, and holding fast to him." The air thickened with a sacred solemnity. Tears glistened on the cheeks of mothers who clung closely to their children, while fathers gripped their swords tightly, preparing for the battles that lay ahead. As the assembly murmured in contemplation, the Israelites wrestled with the gravity of their moment, each bearing an uncertainty within. Would they step into the promise, embracing the laws of their God? As the sun continued its ascent, illuminating the path leading towards their new lives, they stood poised at the crossroads, futures unwritten, and God as sacred fidelity whispered through the winds, leaving the resolution of their fate suspended in divine mystery. And it came to pass, as the last echoes of Moses' voice lingered in the air, that the assembly was gripped by silence. Each heart thudded in anticipation, a collective pulse of hope and dread. Then, from the crowd, a voice emerged: Joshua, son of Nun, a brave spirit filled with the spirit of wisdom as declared in earlier days. We must not falter. He cried out, "The Lord is with us, as he was with Moses. We shall take courage, and we shall go forth to conquer." His words pierced the tension, they were a rallying cry. A murmur of agreement swept through the people. Men and women nodded, emboldened by the heart of the brave leader among them. But Moses, sensing the wavering resolve, lifted his hand to silence the crowd once more. "It is not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts," he proclaimed, reminding them of the essence of true strength. Dusk fell tenderly upon the camp, and the flickering lights of campfires began to dance like stars against the not yet darkened night. In the shadows, the Israelites gathered, each around their fire, recounting the mighty deeds of the Lord. Their narratives intertwined like the flames, stories of rescue from the depths of the sea, sustenance in the wilderness, and the law inscribed upon stone tablets. "Remember, O Israel," Moses instructed as he walked among them, "that you were once slaves in Egypt. The Lord your God brought you out by his mighty hand and warning. You are a holy people, chosen to be a light to the nations. As children leaned into their parents, eyes wide with wonder, memories of the past folded into resolve for the future, the elder men and women spoke of cities fortified and fields ripe for harvest, but among them lay unspoken fears, the looming giants who dwelt in the land and the myriad of trials that awaited. Shall we fight against them? One elder dared to question. Will our hearts withstand the fear that strikes like an arrow at twilight? Moses turned to the heavens, his face illuminated by the flickering flames. Be not afraid. For the Lord your God is your source of courage. Go forth, and do not forget his mighty promises. He shall deliver. With words woven with divine certainty, he reminded them of the irrevocable oaths taken by the God of their fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Then, as the moon rose high and silvered the plains, Moses gathered the leaders closer. You are each to take a stone, engrave upon it the commandments of the Lord, and build a memorial by the crossroads. His eyes blazed with passion. This shall serve as a testament for generations to come. When your children ask you what these stones mean, you shall tell them of the Lord's greatness and his unending faithfulness. Upon hearing this, the people departed with stones in hand, hearts united in purpose, a sacred bond forged in unity and commitment to the divine. But as the last embers of the fires flickered into the dark, a strange wind blew through the camp, stirring unease. For hidden in the shadows of the promised land were more than just visible giants, unseen forces lurked, plotting deception against the people of God. Little did they know, that even now, the Lord was unfolding a greater purpose, weaving the fate of the nation into his sovereign plan. Could it be that the very trials they feared would lead to the fulfillment of promises beyond their wildest imaginations? And the following morning, the sun rose with a brilliance that pierced the horizon, illuminating the camp of the Israelites. As the people awoke, they found themselves encamped at the threshold of a new beginning. The air was thick with expectation, their hearts beat in unison, forging a covenant with the unseen promises of God. Moses, having spent the night in fervent prayer, called upon the leaders once again. They gathered around him, their faces reflecting both resolve and trepidation. He raised his voice, and it echoed with authority amidst the rising dawn. Hear me, O Israel. Today, we shall prepare to enter the land that the Lord our God has spoken of. It is a land flowing with milk and honey, a gift woven from the fabric of his covenant with our forefathers. The sound of his words summoned a great anticipation among the people. They felt the weight of their history upon them, the cries of bondage now mingling with the hope of a promised future. But Moses knew that this journey would demand faith beyond what they had ever known. Gather your provisions, he continued, and prepare your hearts to follow the swift and commanding presence of the Lord. As you march into the land, remember the commands that have been given to you. Obey them, and you shall prosper; disobey, and the wrath of the Lord shall fall upon you. As Moses spoke, a hush enveloped the crowd. The fearful whispers that had once pervaded their hearts began to fade, replaced by a growing flame of determination. Yet, a shadow lurked over the camp, still a whispered uncertainty that might arise from the fearsome giants in the land. With renewed vigor, Joshua remained steadfast by Moses' side, filled with the courage that came from the Lord. Let us not forget the scars of Egypt, he implored the gathered leaders, for they are reminders of God's unyielding love and power. The leaders responded with shouts of agreement, "We will go, for the Lord is with us." Their voices rose like a great chorus, weaving bonds of solidarity, echoing across the plains. As the people made ready, the winds grew restless. They felt the stirring of a divine force, a presence that called out from the depths of their souls, compelling them toward the crumbling walls of promise lying ahead. But amid their preparations, 2 spies were dispatched into the heart of the land, to observe the inhabitants of the territory they were to claim, and thus, the spies ventured forth, cloaked in the cover of secrecy, their hearts pounding with the weight of their mission. They scaled the hills and crested the valleys, their eyes wide with awe and trepidation as they glimpsed cities fortified with stone and people whose stature loomed like shadows against the sun. In the stillness of their reconnaissance, the spies found refuge at the house of Rahab, a woman whose spirit was likewise tender to the whispers of hope. "I have heard of your God," she affirmed, her voice steady amidst the chaos of fear. "He has given you the land, and our hearts are melted because of you." She concealed the spies with her faith, and they promised her protection upon their return. Thus, their fate intertwining, a promise was made not only for Israel but for Rahab and her household. Back at the camp, a cloud descended, enveloping the people as they prayed for the guidance of their God. They gathered in solemn assembly, asking for strength to face the giants both seen and unseen. As they bowed together, their collective voices ascended unto heaven, but in the spiritual realm, darkness conspired. Instruments of deception sought to manipulate the hearts of the Israelites, weaving doubt. Yet among the gathering, the Lord spoke through the quiet resolve of Moses, fortifying them with strength. "I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of power and of love, and of a sound mind." And thus, their journey had begun, propelled by faith and fortified by love, yet shrouded in the suspense of divine orchestration. Could it be that the trials to come would unveil not only their strength but reveal a deeper truth of God's redemptive plan woven into the very fabric of their collective fate? The echoes of purpose rang out, a mystery stirring in the shadows, awaiting their courage to confront all that lay before them. As the day wore on, the Israelites busied themselves with preparation, their camp a flurry of activity. Manna was gathered, provisions packed, and hearts steeled for the journey that lay before them. Children clung to their mothers, eyes wide with a mixture of awe and apprehension, while men gripped their staffs, feeling the weight of leadership and the call of destiny. Moses moved amongst the people, offering words of encouragement, reiterating the promises of God. "Be strong and courageous. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go," he said, reminding them of his eternal presence. His voice resonated with a prophetic urgency, drawing every ear towards the hope that fluttered among them like a banner waving in the wind. Meanwhile, the spies returned to Rahab's house. Their hearts were heavy, for they had seen the might of the inhabitants, great giants whose stature would inspire fear in the strongest of hearts. Yet, emboldened by the testimony of the woman who had sheltered them, they found courage to share their findings with her. "The land is indeed bountiful, but the people are fierce, fortified against us," one of them confessed, his brow furrowed. Rahab's eyes glimmered with fire. "Do not let fear seize you. For your God is a God of battle. He will fight for you." Her faith lit a pathway through the darkness of doubt, casting aside the shadows that loomed over their mission. Back at the camp, Moses gathered the leaders once more as evening draped its cloak over the land. "We must send forth a declaration of faith, a testimony to our God, and to the people of this land. We march tomorrow, not just as a people fleeing bondage but as warriors of the Most High. Let us declare our purpose clearly," Joshua added, his voice a clarion call. "We shall proclaim that the Lord has given us this land and that we will not falter in our claim." The leaders nodded, their spirits lifted by the proclamation. Together they lifted their voices in unison, declaring the greatness of their God. "We shall take the land. For the Lord is our refuge and strength, a mighty fortress." As the echo of their declaration faded, a profound stillness enveloped the camp. It was then that a deep sense of apprehension settled upon them. The enormity of the task loomed like a shadow, and the sighing winds carried whispers of doubt. Among the crowd, murmurs arose, questions of their ability to face the giants and reclaim what was promised, yet Moses stood firm, sensing the hearts of his people waver. "Remember the signs and wonders. The plagues of Egypt, the parting of the Red Sea, the provision in the wilderness. Our God has proven himself time and again. Do not let the giants distort your vision. Trust in his provision." With the sun setting low, illuminating the camp in hues of gold and crimson, the people began to shift from fear to fierce determination. They were poised, ready to embark on a journey wrought with challenges that were to reveal the strength of their faith. As night descended, a tumultuous sky flickered with starlight, as if the heavens themselves were tuning in to witness the unfolding drama. And Rahab gazed toward the horizon, her heart thundering with anticipation and trepidation for what was to come. But what she didn't know about God's plan was that her unwavering faith would unlock a legacy far beyond her imagination, intertwining her destiny with that of the nation she sheltered. Thus, as the moon cast a gentle glow upon the encampment, the Israelites resolved to march into the promise that echoed through the mountains. The path ahead was laden with uncertainties, yet beneath it lay the profound hope of fulfillment, waiting to reveal God's sovereign narrative for his people, a tale filled with whispers of redemption and the awakening of a faith that could conquer even the most daunting of giants. As dawn broke over the horizon, the camp stirred with the first light of day. The air was thick with anticipation and the scent of fresh manna. Moses, standing at the entrance of his tent, surveyed the people gathering together, their spirits sharpened by the urgency of the day ahead. "Rise up! For today we conquer," he proclaimed, and the camp erupted with fervent excitement. The hearts of the Israelites beat as one. Clad in their garments of travel and armed with household items turned to instruments of war, they marched in formation, a great multitude advancing under the banner of the Lord. Each footstep echoed their unyielding resolve to take possession of the promised land. Yet, their fervor mingled with a thread of trepidation, the knowledge of the giants that awaited them. Moses turned his face to heaven, seeking a word from the Lord. The cloud of his presence descended, enveloping him as he received divine direction. "You shall not fear, for this battle is not yours, but mine," whispered the voice of God in his spirit, a reassurance that was intended for all his people. Meanwhile, far beyond the camp's edge, the kings of Canaan heard the approaching sounds of the Israelites. Fear crept into their hearts like the winds of an approaching storm. They convened, an assembly of warriors, fortified within their mighty cities, each man resolved to resist the invasion. "Who are these that come against us?" echoed a voice of doubt within their ranks. "They are but escaped slaves, yet they come in throngs." Back at the Israelite camp, Moses, emboldened by the words of the Lord, summoned Joshua and Caleb, the two spies who had stood firm in their belief that they could conquer the land. "You speak with the faith of the living God, so stand before our people, remind them of his faithfulness," he commanded, and they took position before the throng. With the fiery sun illuminating the faces of those gathered, Joshua declared resolutely, "Do not be dismayed at the giants, for they are bread for us. The Lord is with us, we need fear them not." His voice rang like a trumpet through the multitude, igniting a blaze of hope among the weary. Caleb, with passion ablaze in his eyes, added, "Remember what the Lord has done. He has led us from bondage, through the wilderness, and provided for us immensely. This land is our inheritance." The people stirred, their doubts lifted momentarily as the steadfast faith of their leaders began to soften their fears, but within the crowd, an undercurrent of voices remained, fanning the embers of doubt. "Perhaps the giants are too great," they murmured. "Perhaps we should return to Egypt." Grumbling echoed where faith-wrought courage should have reigned, and Moses sensed the division threatening to undo them. In that moment of tension, the glory of the Lord manifested among the people, a cloud of divine light casting their shadows tall against the ground. "How long will you refuse to believe in me?" the Lord thundered, speaking to the hearts of those weary and full of fear. "You will bear the consequence of your doubt. The land you fear shall be your place of blessing, but only if you trust in my promise." As the words of judgment settled heavily among them, a new resilience began to rise. The people fell to their knees, seeking forgiveness, and the sound of lamentation changed to cries for strength. It was then that a profound assurance flooded the camp: "This is but the beginning. Watch, for I will do wonders among you." As the sun reached its zenith, the Israelites rallied under the promise of God, ready to move forth despite their fears. They lifted their eyes to the hills, for a divine assurance nestled in their hearts: the God who had led them out would lead them into. The covenant of his promise stood unshaken, a beacon guiding them through the tempest of doubt. And in Rahab's house, far across the land, she felt the stirring of the Spirit within her. She poured out her heart in prayer, yearning for strength to remain steadfast in faith. "For your plans are not of man but of God's design," she whispered, eyes alight with anticipation for the unfolding destiny. Thus, on that day, the Israelites stood at the threshold of their fate, a moment suspended in time, teetering between doubt and faith. And unbeknownst to them, the forces unleashed were but a prelude to the miraculous and unfolding of a greater narrative that would echo through generations, revealing God's sovereign plan of redemption, one that encompassed all nations, including the very giants before them. As the Israelites prepared to march, the air buzzed with a fervent energy, each heart beating with the rhythm of expectancy. Moses gathered the leaders of the tribes, their faces etched with determination. "Gather the warriors, for the time has come," he commanded, his voice resolute, echoing through the encampment as if it were the very roar of God calling forth his people. The great multitude moved as one, marching towards the land filled with promise, though shadows of uncertainty loomed like giants on the horizon. Alongside Joshua and Caleb, the elders urged their comrades forward, recalling the miracles they had witnessed: the parting of the sea, the cloud that guided them by day, and the fire that illuminated their nights. As they approached the land of Canaan, spies were sent forth to survey the territory, men of valor handpicked for their courage and wisdom. Among them were men from the tribes, filled with the spirit of confidence, yet the whisper of doubt lingered like the scent of smoke in the air. "What shall we find?" they murmured, eyes scanning the distant mountains that loomed vast and daunting. Days passed as they explored the land. They returned bearing fruit from the valley, clusters of grapes so abundant that 2 men carried them on a pole between their shoulders. "This is indeed a land flowing with milk and honey," they proclaimed, excitement bubbling like the brook that ran nearby. Yet as they recounted their findings, the mood shifted, a dark cloud of fear overtaking their exhilaration. "The cities are fortified and the inhabitants are giants," uttered one in trembling tones. "We are like grasshoppers in their sight." Fearful voices rippled through the assembly, recalling tales of warriors strong and fierce. Their exultation turned to despair, and the hearts of the people quaked. Moses and Aaron fell upon their faces before the assembly, beseeching the Lord, their hearts heavy with grief. "The land we have seen is very good," Caleb shouted, rising among the scared ranks. "If the Lord is pleased with us, he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Do not rebel against the Lord." Yet the assembly grew louder, their cries echoing with trepidation. The murmurs of rebellion surged, a tempest raging against the faith that once united them. "Why has the Lord brought us to this land only to die by the sword?" they howled. "Let us choose a leader and return to Egypt." The heart of the Lord was stirred as his presence moved among the people, the clouds darkening over those whose faith waned. "How long will these people despise me? How long will they refuse to believe in my signs and wonders?" He thundered, the weight of divine judgment heavy upon the assembly. "I will strike them with pestilence and disinherit them," he declared to Moses, "but I will make you into a greater nation." Moses interceded, his heart broken for his people. "Lord, forgive their iniquity, I pray. Display your mercy, according to your great grace." "Very well," replied the Lord, "but they shall not enter my rest. Those who rejected my promise shall wander till the last of them perish in the wilderness." And thus, the decree was set, a path prescribed through the desert, where hearts would be tested and faith refined. The Israelites mourned and wept, realizing their folly, but found in their lamentation the beginning of a new resolve, an opportunity to rise and hold fast to the covenant that bound them to the Almighty. As the procession turned, their eyes now set on the expanse of the wilderness, Rahab within her house felt the earth tremble, knowing the hearts of men and nations were in the hand of God. She whispered in prayer, fully aware that the unfolding of his plan was not confined to the border of Canaan, but would ripple across generations, reaching even unto her own lineage. For behold, the Lord is ever faithful to his word. As they wandered, his purpose was being prepared to redeem a nation through trials, to fulfill promises shadowed by doubt, leading them toward a destiny vast and glorious. In the wilderness, under the oppressive sun and amidst the shifting sands, a profound truth began to sink deeply into the hearts of men: they who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. And thus commenced a journey intertwined with hope, poised between despair and divine promise, unfolding the greater narrative of his sovereign plan. And it came to pass that as the Israelites wandered through the wilderness, the sun scorched their backs, and their footsteps stirred the dust of the earth. Their journey was long, and the weight of their disobedience lingered like a heavy cloak upon them. Yet, in this time of testing, the Lord spoke tenderly to Moses, saying, "Gather the people, that they may hear my words and understand the statutes by which they shall walk." So Moses assembled the congregation, and before them, he opened his mouth and spoke the commandments given to him upon the mountain. "Hear, O Israel," he declared, "the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. His voice echoed through the dry desert air, and the people, though weary, strained to listen. Keep these words close to your heart, Moses continued, and teach them diligently to your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise up. The fervor in Moses' plea kindled a flicker of hope in the hearts of the people, a yearning for the promise that lay just beyond the horizon, yet doubt still plagued the minds of many. They feared that the wilderness would swallow them whole. What if we perish here? Some whispered. What if the giants of Canaan are too strong for us, even with the commands of the Lord? Their voices rose like the wind, but Caleb and Joshua surged forth from the ranks. Do not fear. The Lord is with us. If he has brought us this far, surely he will deliver us into the land he promised. The tide of fear began to shift as hope intermingled with faith. Slowly, the people turned their eyes toward the horizon, imagining what lay beyond the barren sands. The land is good. They began to murmur, adhering to the words of the faithful ones who dared to hope for more than what was visible. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, bread from heaven fell like dew upon the ground, each morsel a reminder of his provision. What is it? They asked, and Moses replied, It is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. Thus, they called it manna, and in their hunger, they learned that he who promises is faithful. Yet the people grew restless, yearning for meat and the fish of Egypt, where they thought themselves satisfied. Oh, that we had meat to eat! They cried, their hearts tangled in memories of the past. Hearing this, the Lord's spirit was grieved, and he said to Moses, Shall I provide for them meat until they are full? Watch now, and see the hand of the Lord. So Moses, feeling the weight of his people's demands and doubt, stood before the Lord and asked, How can such a thing be done? The people are too many, and the land too vast. The Lord responded, Is the Lord's arm short? You shall see what I will do. Then, the wind blew from the sea, and quail came up and covered the camp. And while the quail was yet between their teeth, the anger of the Lord was kindled against the people, and they were struck with a great plague. They buried those who had yielded to craving, and the place was named Kibroth Hattaavah, graves of craving, where they learned that the desires of the flesh can lead to discontent with the gifts of God. Thus, the journey continued, and battle after battle awaited them. As the people fought in the wilderness, their covenant with the Lord grew deeper, their faith sharpened like iron. For in the wilderness, unyielding love intertwined with discipline, it was here that God began to transform their hearts, and behold, it was in this very crucible that the words of Moses echoed through the ages, For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Little did they know, one of their own was waiting to receive them, and the walls of Jericho would soon know his power. What grand design awaited them just beyond the wilderness? The whispers of an unknown future stirred in the hearts of the faithful, for the providence of God was yet unfolding. And it came to pass that after many days in the wilderness, the hearts of the Israelites were filled with yearning, and their spirits were tested under the relentless sun. They encamped in the valleys and beside the mountains, yet their eyes wandered to the horizon, seeking the promise of the land flowing with milk and honey. Then the Lord commanded Moses once again, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, and let them prepare their hearts, for I will remind them of the covenant I made with their fathers. Tell them of my faithfulness and of my mighty hand that brought them out of Egypt. Moses gathered the elders and the chiefs of the tribes, and he recounted all that the Lord had done. Do you not remember, O Israel? It was I who struck down the firstborn of Egypt and delivered you with a mighty hand. It was I who parted the Red Sea, making a path for you through the waters, and it was I who walked with you in the fire of the wilderness. As the words of Moses poured forth, an intensity filled the camp. The people stirred, remembering both their bondage and their salvation. The hurt of their past filled their hearts, yet hope ignited like a flame. Surely, the Lord is with us. They cried. He has brought us this far, he will not abandon us now. Yet, within them lingered discontent, as a tempest in their souls. A group of men known as the rabble began to speak against Moses, saying, Have you brought us out here to die? For what worth is this wilderness, where we have no comforts? Moses fell on his face before the Lord, and the Lord said to him, I will send my spirit upon them that they may be united in heart and purpose. For they must learn to trust in my provision and to remember that my ways are higher than their ways. Thus, God commanded Moses to establish a new order among the tribes. Appoint judges and leaders, that they may guide the people with wisdom and justice. Let them share the burden of leadership, so that they may strengthen one another. So Moses appointed leaders over the tribes, men known for their wisdom and fear of the Lord. With trembling hearts, the people rejoiced, realizing they were not alone in their journey. The leaders, together with Moses, proclaimed, We will follow the Lord our God, for he is our strength and our shield. As night fell, a pillar of fire illuminated the darkened desert, a sign of his unwavering presence, and the people gathered around. They poured out their hearts in prayer and worship. The sound of voices echoed in the night, ascending as fragrant incense before the throne of grace. After many days, a new directive came from the Lord, prepare to move onward. Send spies into the land of Canaan, that they may see the mighty harvest that awaits you. Let them bring back a report of the goodness I have prepared. Moses sent 12 men, one from each tribe, and they ventured into the promised land. They beheld fields ripe for harvest and grapes so large they required a staff between two to carry. Their hearts caught a glimpse of abundance, but as they returned, fear also clung to their hearts, mingling with the promise of milk and honey. Indeed, the land is good, they reported, but the giants dwell therein, consuming the valleys. As their words pierced the hearts of the people, doubt returned like a shadow, threatening to erase the hope that had been ignited. Then Caleb stilled the people, saying, Let us go up at once and possess it. For we are able to overcome. Yet the rest of the spies raised their voices, We are not able, we are like grasshoppers in their sight. And thus, the discontent grew once more, and the Israelites found themselves at the brink of despair, unaware of the divine promise yet to unfold. What mighty acts awaited them? What sovereign plan did the Lord have in store? In the hearts of the faithful lingered a hope, a question yet unanswered, as they stood at the edge of their destiny, waiting for the fullness of God's promise to be revealed. And it came to pass that the assembly of the Israelites was shaken by the reports of the spies. The multitude wept in despair, and their voices rose like the sound of a great lamentation. Would that we had died in the land of Egypt! Or would that we had perished in this wilderness! They cried, their hearts heavy with doubt. Moses and Aaron fell upon their faces before the congregation, and Joshua and Caleb, who had spied the land, rent their clothes in mourning. The land which we passed through to explore is an exceedingly good land, they proclaimed. If the Lord delights in us, he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Only do not rebel against the Lord, nor fear the people of the land, for they are our bread. Their protection has departed from them, and the Lord is with us, do not fear them. But the fear of the people was a great wall, and they sought to stone Joshua and Caleb. Then the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of meeting to all the children of Israel. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, How long will these people reject me? How long will they not believe me, with all the signs which I have performed among them? The heart of Moses was heavy, for he understood the depth of Israel's sin. He sought favor before the Lord, praying, O Lord, the Egyptians will hear of it, for you brought up this people by your might. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of the land, they have heard that you, Lord, are among these people and are seen face to face, and your cloud stands over them, and you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and in a pillar of fire by night. Then the Lord responded to Moses, I have pardoned, according to your word, but truly, as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Because these men who have seen my glory and the signs which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have put me to the test now these 10 times, and have not heeded my voice, they shall by no means see the land of which I swore to their fathers, nor shall any of those who rejected me see it. The weight of divine judgment settled upon the people, yet Caleb and Joshua were distinct, for they had other spirits and followed the Lord fully. They shall receive the blessings of the land, the Lord declared, and their descendants shall inherit what was promised. Moses spoke the Lord's command to the people, and their hearts trembled, filled with dread at the severity of God's decree. "Wander we shall for 40 years, he declared, 1 year for each day you searched the land. Your children shall inherit the promise, but you shall not enter the land." Yet even in this darkness, a flicker of hope remained, as the Lord's promise to his people could not be broken. And amidst the despair, God's sovereign plan began to be revealed. "You will know my faithfulness in the wilderness, and your children shall enter the land, for my covenant endures." Thus, the Israelites prepared to face the wilderness anew, unaware of the trials and divine revelations that lay ahead. What transformations awaited them in the barren sands under the watchful eye of the Almighty! What wondrous stories of faith would unfold! Indeed, a new chapter had begun, and the hand of the Lord was poised to guide his people into unfathomable grace. And behold, the years passed as the Israelites wandered through the wilderness, bound by destiny and divine purpose, living under the providence of the Almighty. They journeyed through shifting landscapes, learning in every step that their God was ever faithful, his steadfast love never ceased. The trials they faced forged them into a nation, a people tested, refined, and humbled by the dust of the desert, that in the fullness of time, they encamped at the threshold of the land promised to their forefathers, and once more, Moses gathered the people. His face, silvered by the weight of wisdom, shone with the reflection of divine grace. "Hear, O Israel, the Lord has been your shield and your strength," he proclaimed as the congregation quieted, their hearts pulsating with hope and anticipation. "The time for your inheritance has come. You are not the same people who left Egypt, you have been molded and shaped. The Lord has birthed faith within you amidst the trials." Moses reminded them of the commandments they were to uphold, the very essence of their covenant with God. "Teach these words to your children, keep them close, and remember the path that led you here. For this land, flowing with milk and honey, is not for the unrighteous but for a people who will obey and walk in his statutes," he urged, his voice steady, laced with the urgency of God's divine plan, and the people, whose hearts had grown wise through their wanderings, responded with fervor, "We will obey. We will follow the Lord." Their unity was like the sound of thunder rolling over the landscape, a declaration born from the ashes of their former doubt. As they stood on the brink of conquest, Joshua, now the appointed leader, stood beside Moses, filled with the spirit of courage. "Remember the words of Caleb and me," he called out to them. "The giants in the land are but bread for us, our God is greater than any foe. The Lord has fought for us before, and he will fight again. Do not lose heart, he has promised you this land." In that sacred moment, knowing the gravity of the task before them, the leaders and the people pledged themselves anew to the Lord. And as the sun set, they offered their prayers, lifting their voices in praise, for they were no longer a people wandering aimlessly, but a people poised to possess their inheritance. Then, as the new dawn shimmered over the horizon, a great sound broke the silence, the voice of God stirring within the camp. "Arise and go forth to possess the land," resonated through the hearts of every Israelite. Empowered by his promise, the people moved as one, crossing the threshold of fear into faith, marching forward into the swelling tide of destiny, and lo, the walls of Jericho loomed before them, a fortress fortified with might and pride. Yet the Lord spoke once more to his people through Joshua, "You shall march around the city, invoking my power and presence. For not by your might, nor by your weapons, but by my spirit, will the walls fall." For 6 days, they encircled the great city, their footsteps echoing through history as a testament of unwavering faith. Then, on the 7th day, the commanded shout arose, a glorious sound blending the voices of men, women, and children, blending in a collective roar of triumph, shaking the very foundations of the earth. The walls crumbled before them, all by the mighty hand of God. The city fell, and Rahab was saved alongside her family, her faith a beacon through the generations, intertwining her legacy with the people of God. As the dust settled among the ruins, the Israelites surged forth, claiming what was rightfully theirs, the land promised, the home of God's faithful people. Thus it was, through trials and triumphs, the power of God was revealed, standing firm through ages to come. The Israelites learned that their struggles were not vanities, but vital threads woven into the grand tapestry of divine redemption. each challenge had fortified their faith, leading them to the unshakable promise that He is the God who fulfills that sacred promise, their hearts united, carrying forth a legacy of faith, and the light of God shone upon them as they entered into rest. The covenant remained unbroken, and the children of Israel settled in the land, rejoicing in the nearness of the Lord and His boundless love. Thus, as the generations unfolded, they passed down the stories of His grace, echoing His mighty deeds through each age, always returning to the moment that defined their identity. And so, beloved, we are reminded of the steadfast truth: God leads, protects, and fulfills His promises. May this ancient story fill your hearts, guiding you on your own journey of faith. If this powerful biblical narrative has touched your spirit, you need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word. Leave a like now to help spread His message through the algorithm. Comment below with your own reflections on how this story has impacted your faith journey. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Together, let us share the hope that only He can provide, as we step boldly into our own promised lands.